G'day folks and welcome to our bedroom. Today I thought I'd give you a bit of a look at the pink oyster mushrooms we've had growing. These guys here we picked up a couple of weeks ago at the Brisbane Plant and Garden Expo, and yeah, they've been doing rather well, as you can see. Today I accidentally knocked a couple off when I took the lid off. This little thing here has been sitting over the top like that. I'm trying to keep the humidity in, and we've been spraying a couple of squirts of water up there twice a day just to keep it nice and humid. And yeah, when I took it off to start filming this clip, we had this nice flush of oyster mushrooms from over the back fall off. So yeah, there's a bit of a harvest clip as well. It wasn't going to be one. And we've also noticed that this one over the front here as well is falling off, so we thought we'd cut it off as well and harvest it. Oops, it's just fallen off as it is, so there you go, a bit of an impromptu harvest. But I thought I'd just give you a bit of a look at these guys. I think this one's going to do the same thing. I might take him off as well before we begin. There we go. So we've got 3 little sections of the mushrooms to cook up for tonight. So these mushrooms are only a fraction of this size a couple of days ago. I took a bit of a video for the folks over on Patreon and showed them the progress. Just down the base here, underneath where the mushrooms were actually sitting before I lifted it up on this little plastic container earlier, we ended up with a load of what I think is spores coming from the gills underneath the mushrooms themselves. But I thought I'd just point that out. Just something I didn't really expect to see straight away. I thought the gills would have to open up a little bit more than that. And just reposition this camera. So I thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown on how this bag was started. It came as a solid bag, and I had to cut these little windows into the bag itself to allow the fruiting bodies or the mushrooms to grow out the sides. So I followed the procedures that were recommended, and that was a knife that had been cleaned with methylated spirits. I also wiped down the outside of the bag with methylated spirits and cut 6 windows on the both long sides, and on the short side I think I've got 2 or 3 windows in each. The reason you have to use methylated spirits is because any contamination can also feed off the sawdust medium in here, and you can end up with mould issues. The whole reason the windows go into the bags is this is where the air hits the surface of the substrate with the mycelia in it, and that's where the fruiting bodies will form. So one thing I am concerned about is this blue mould that has just started to grow in a few of the windows, just in this little window here and another one around the corner there. So I'm not too sure what's happened there, whether the knife wasn't as sterile as I'd thought, or we've had people in here as well, so for all I know someone may have actually touched the substrate just to see what it feels like, and they've put something on there. But as for moisture, as you can see on the base, there isn't a lot of moisture gathering in there, so I don't think it's too damp. I think maybe some sort of other contamination has gotten in there. But yeah, I've been really fascinated in watching these things grow. Another thing I've noticed just down in here is that towards the back of the flush, you can see where the main stem has been taken off just there, but towards the back of these flushes, I'll just pull one of the mushrooms out. The mushrooms, the newer ones, are coming through with a little bit of a brown tinge around them. From what I've seen, that poses no issues when eating them, but just curious if anyone knows what that could be, along with what the blue mould issue might be. And as you can see, it looks like there's more spores that have been dropped over the back there. And just to show you around here on the other side, I have another window here that has some of the blue mould in it as well. So yeah, I'm not too sure whether I'm going to get as many flushes as I thought out of this lot. And I just noticed down here we have a whole lot coming out. It may not look very blue in the video there, but that's all like blue speckled mouldy looking growth in there. So might have been an expensive experiment, but at least it was my first crack at having a go at some of these mushrooms. And just to give you a look at where they came from for you guys in Australia who might be interested, it was Wollumbin Gourmet mushrooms. So they're just south of the border in New South Wales. So there you go folks, there's what could be the first and only harvest from this little oyster mushroom bag. I really do need to read up on them a little bit further, I think. So if you can help me out with that blue penicillin mould issue and also the browning of the fruit down in the comment section below, I'd really appreciate it. So I'd like to thank you all once more for coming along and checking out what's growing on here in our little backyard farm. And thanks to those patrons over on Patreon. As always, you can check out the super contributors down in the description down below. I do hope you're all well and happy and that your own mushrooms are flourishing. And I'll catch you next clip, folks. Cheers all, have a top one.